Peter, I want to warm that cold, dead Midwestern heart of yours here on V'ger Please, a vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Hey, look at me. I've got a bad receding hairline, maybe a little male pattern baldness. Could I be a bad faith human actor? No. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, we have so much to talk about, and so I don't want to belabor the point. However, a quick tease for future episodes. You and I have to sort out the judgment of the Chadish. We called for the judgment of the Chadish a few episodes ago as we had a dispute over something that happened in an episode that occurred prior. And I think that deserves our attention. That deserves our full analysis.
Mm-hmm.
We will provide it.
Okay.
Jack has put in too much high quality effort on our part for anything less.
Listen, the murder coworker simulator, you know.
I mean, his video about the dispute you had with him over where the shuttle pod connects to the NX.
It was a hard loss for him.
It wasn't painful, and he recorded it and everything. So we have so much we have to respect when it comes to the Chadish.
Do you remember when we were watching Star Trek that was so bad I had to make mountains out of molehills over where the fucking door was on a shuttle?
But it's because we're not watching those episodes, and Peter and I want to go to sleep at some point this evening. And we got to get through this discussion that we're gonna promise that for later. But we want to acknowledge that the Chadish has made a ruling. We will clarify the call for the Chadish, analyze his determinations, and then submit ourselves to the punishments at a future date. However, what are we doing right now, Peter?
Some heavy lifting, because these are big concepts that are coming into play in Deep Space Nine that, not inadvertently, are going to become the blueprints for the entirety of Star Trek Voyager. We're going into Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 20, the Maquis? Am I saying that right? The
Maquis, yes.
Maquis?
Maquis, yes. The Maquis. Yeah.
The fact that didn't happen with Kira Nerys, that some Bajoran looks at this whack-ass word and she's just like, oh yeah, the Maquis. Okay. Well, all right, Universal Translator. That's some real heavy...
Got a little French bias, do we?
Well, you know, when Picard's your flagship officer, you gotta cater. The Maquis, Part 1, first aired April 24th, 1994. Lots of names coming down the pipe here. Teleplay by James Crocker. Story by Rick Berman, Michael Piller, Jerry Taylor, James Crocker. Directed by David Livingston. So you've got the entirety of the Voyager launch production staff.
Correct.
Hands directly in this thing.
Sure are. The three most executive people working on Star Trek wrote the story. So you and I were having a good conversation about this as a warm-up. So we'll, I think, maybe segue into repeating ourselves a touch, but it is the most interesting meta thing to discuss now that it's here. And that is the concept of the Maquis in Berman-era Trek. It is something that ends up mattering to more individual episodes of Star Trek than almost any other antagonistic concept. Because not only does it show up here at the end of TNG, which is happening at the same time as Season 2 of Deep Space Nine, serializing between the two, but the concept of the Maquis obviously is in the original premise of Voyager, where half of your main characters are deeply connected to this organization and whose presence within it defines who they are and, to a lesser degree than we had hoped, defines much of the internal conflict that occurs on Voyager itself between the characters.
Perhaps the greatest of Voyager's squandered potentials.
Absolutely. Number one judgment we made was it should have mattered to so many more episodes that there is a meaningful difference between the rogue terrorist organization that now has members on this otherwise Starfleet crew, and not an inconsiderable number either, to the point where they cannot be ignored. They have to be employed as officers and crewmen.
As we're sitting here talking about this, something that's very interesting coming to mind is that as you and I have examined Star Trek through 3 properties now, there's constantly a question of life on Earth and the story of the civilian. And it's interesting that this major plot line that moves between all 3 of the Berman-era properties is a civilian organization in origin, yet not an Earth affiliate directly. So, like, it's these border colonists and kind of their plight as the everyman's life on the fringes of society, and how they radicalize and, become a pain in the Federation's ass. And, what's the analog between that and a civilian on Earth? And that's stuff that they really examine very closely in, like, The Expanse is, Earth versus the Belters. But I don't know if we're going to really see how people on Earth feel about what's going on out here with these. I don't know what derogatory name we want to end up using on these guys, or if they even deserve a derogatory name. Like, are the Maquis, are the Maquis wrong to do what they're doing? And that's, I think, a cool part of this episode is how the Starfleet attaché sees these guys and has come to be, I don't know if he's been co-opted or if he was there along at the very beginning to see an injustice being delivered by the Federation to these people.
All fantastic thoughts. I do want to say that in the next episode, there is an all-time banger Sisko monologue that sort of captures some of what you're talking about. So the show is self-aware enough to touch on that, at least to a substantial degree, actually. However, the awkwardness of the Maquis throughout all of its existence within Berman-era Trek is dominated by one simple fact, which is they never solved a way to directly address the concept that the Federation is a place that is a post-scarcity utopia, with the concept of scarcity as a concept of these people not willing to leave these very specific planets and therefore deciding to become terrorists instead.
And that's
the lack of explanation for that makes the Maquis seem very irrational, where a different construction could have potentially made it a much more coherent narrative force.
It's a problem that plagues TNG as well, because there's many an episode where the crew has to go to a colony and tell them, you got to move because your sun's going to blow up. You got to move because your planet's been given away in a treaty. You got to move because, there's lead in the water or whatever. And the only way that you can really make it feasible is if you throw some sort of spiritual obligation on these people to stay there, right? Like,
right.
The traveler
religion is the only way you can kind of get away with it.
The only irrational play you can make where you're like, all right. Because any of these other ones, like even in here, guys, like this guy has worked these fields for 20 years and this is...
Yeah, but he's from fucking Norway. It's not where he's even from.
Yeah,
it's just a place he went and put in a lot of effort.
So now here's a guy who has kids and a wife that he loves dearly, that he's willing to become a terrorist over because the Cardassian boogeymen are lurking in the shadows waiting to hurt people. And this guy that you're telling me is a great father and willing to do extreme things for the cause wasn't willing to get on a fucking transport and move his family to safety and get out of the ghetto. And,
yes.
And as someone who has...
Precisely. You nailed it.
Someone who has gotten out of the ghetto myself,
yeah,
I will tell you that getting out of the ghetto feels great.
I'm not saying there isn't a way that you could have told a compelling story that made sense, that crossed all of your IPs, about a group of humans and other Alpha Quadrant Federation-aligned races coming together to form a paramilitary group to do dirt, to protect people in an otherwise secluded and exposed part of space. And as a consequence of other factors, that this was a morally correct but politically impossible thing to support. Okay? That story exists within the post-scarcity version of this story.
They're mining something out there, or they're doing some sort of work that needs to continue, and just abandoning these colonies does not work to the galactic community. No. So relocation was not an option. It's a raw deal. It sucks that these people are under someone else's jurisdiction now, but hey, we can't give up the dilithium fucking industry or whatever.
If you want to create it like as a state versus state thing, create a Cold War where you've got proxies, you could have done it that way. You could have done it a way of some people did get screwed and there's some other existential reason as to why they can't leave where they are because of provisional spackle.
The provisional government, the outer ring authority, or whatever the fuck you want to call this collection of colonists at a high level rejected the Federation's offer of relocation, and through a mistake of their localized government, the civilian population got fucked into staying. And now this is how the everyman is revolting there.
You could have found a way to do this, a million ways, but instead they just fucking don't. That's the painful part of this, is that they never, ever offer an explanation for the existence of the Maquis at any point aside from literally the fucking Traveler episode with the Indians, which introduced the idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one, right, that had a reason. Every other time, like, nah, just...
Frankly, all of these guys out there look to me like they're on vacation.
Yeah.
You could be anywhere you want.
Just go to another planet. You're from Norway. Go to a different planet.
And I want, we've been making jokes about this for months now. There was the Southern California farmer fracking moon, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful M-class planet. Fucking amazing. You've got so many planets you could get away with just blowing this thing up.
When those people, the scabby people came through and they just got a planet. They just found one for them.
The prepper planet, where they're all out there with the 12 years of Sisko or whatever. Where she's got.
Well, that's what I should have named it. Yeah.
You have, and I mean, we were able to retroactively go back and call it Worst World, so we can do it here. All you have done is paint a picture to me that M-class planets are a dime a dozen. And even with all the M-class planets you still had this beautiful, once-in-a-generation mind Professor Sychek, who is out there terraforming planets left and right and making designer planets for people. So it's absolutely ridiculous that there's any sort of emphasis or psychological utility put on these border colonies that say, no, people need to stay here because it's better than the alternatives. The alternative is unlimited M-class planets anywhere else. These guys can go fucking wherever they want.
Exactly. And they went there from another place. So there's no blood and soil nationalism here. Okay. There's no spiritual connection. It's now that they didn't want to leave because it's their home. Yeah, I know that sucks, but it's not a reason you get to be a terrorist and murders people. Like, that's not enough justification.
When in the face of your family being murdered. Everybody here just looks like unreasonable assholes. I would rather stay in this place that is going to kill my family and to go from the Gene Roddenberry season 1 Star Trek The Next Generation alien-like version of humanity, where you espouse these ideals above all else because you have no wants. You have a magic food box on the wall where you can get whatever you want. And now here you are planting dirty bombs on civilian transport vessels and just mass murdering and doing all this 1980s terrorist shit.
And I understand like the concept of displaced people that they were trying to go for, but that concept doesn't work in a universe where you have previously established infinite things for people that there is no shortage of place for them to go. Like in the real world, that doesn't exist. In the real world, when there's a displaced group from another group, they have nowhere to go because no one will take them. So they are isolated and poor and don't have enough things and they are suffering. I get that. That doesn't exist in the Star Trek universe, particularly in the Alpha Quadrant, particularly in the Federation. So having these people committing murder constantly over soil that is the one thing we know doesn't fucking matter at all in this universe doesn't make any sense. And you don't layer any of the political intrigue shit that actually could have made it work. You play it straight the whole fucking way, like a bunch of fucking idiots. And it unfortunately holds back what otherwise would be great stories.
I really think the right way to do this would have been to have a bad faith leadership class in this outer rim that did not want to surrender control of the power that they had amassed and were more willing to drag their civilian population into terrorism rather than these guys go reintegrate back into the Federation and no longer be kings over their little fiefdom.
And when they start to develop Maquis storylines more over the course of the next few seasons, they end up hitting one correct note with one correct character and telling a story of the Maquis as an organization that kind of gets hijacked by a very self-important, sort of self-aggrandizing figure who is making things worse because that person wants to be more important than they actually are to the universe. And that's like, ooh, see, that's like Deep Space Nine is, matures to really like hit the notes. Even they start to figure out what this all could have been at one point, but that's like so far too fucking late in what they end up doing that it's like you're so far from caring about it anymore.
It's surprising that these obvious rejection points are ignored because Deep Space Nine has been so considerate on everything else in bridging the gaps, applying the spackle correctly, and throwing in the couple lines of dialogue to explain a ridiculous situation and make it seem legit. And for what is a tent post of this property, for it to be this half-assed and Swiss cheese full of holes is ridiculous. And I can only assume that it's Rick Berman's fault. And that, because all of these complaints we're levying right now is classic Voyager.
Yeah.
Here it's a ramrod. This is a ramrod problem. We want a Federation civilian terrorist faction, and we're just going to tell people that they're here. And here is the most two-dimensional reason for them to be upset. And instead of spending an extra, 18 minutes right now? Instead of spending an extra 16 minutes having this discussion and punching obvious holes in this, it's interesting that Brana is completely absent in this story, by the way, because he should have been a powerhouse in the Star Trek producer world right now.
He doesn't really come around until it's time to do Enterprise or Voyager, really. He comes around later. We forget there's another 11, 12 years of making Star Trek after this.
Yeah.
So, he is a big deal. He's just not a big deal that's a big deal yet.
Honestly, I don't know if he would have been able to unfuck this, or if he would have actually addressed this problem, or if he, as was often the case in Voyager, was part of the problem of this production team that was busy looking at the forest without, saying, hey, are the trees growing up and down, or are the trees growing left to right?
They wanted to do a refugee story. It's the 90s. This was big, right? Kosovo, Bosnia, Balkan Wars. You have to think about the politics of the time. These people are in LA. They want to do that story in Trek because that's what Trek always does. They try to find some real life shit and they try to reflect it back into the material. And when they're smart, they make it seem timeless and integrate it with the material itself. And when they're stupid, they have the idea and they just try to jam it in without understanding what the fuck they're doing. And it took until Ira Steven Behr was totally in charge of this thing until there was actually some good Maquis episodes. And by then, the focus was not on this part of the story anymore anyway. It almost didn't fucking matter. So you moved on from it.
Are we going to let these complaints about the complete lack of solid ground under these guys' complaints color our views of the Maquis storyline moving forward? Or are we going to have to, fucking take 2 scoops of suspension of disbelief and just go, hey, this is a reasonable thing that's happening over here?
I think we
And try to
should,
enjoy this.
we should enjoy them for what they are, but I don't think that we will be wrong to point out, like, here's a spot that makes this episode worse because it has to deal with Maquis stuff that doesn't make sense.
Because there's definitely a way to have pitched this to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we just came up with a couple valid ass ways to do it. And I think if those had happened, that you could take a lot of the stuff that's happening here and go, all right.
Yeah, no. You want to do intrigue, you want to do, Austria or Switzerland, type of circumstances where you've got people competing against each other where they shouldn't be, proxy wars, that sort of thing. Sure, yeah, you could do that. But instead, you kind of sloppily introduce this in a fashion that makes it so the underlying conflict makes so little sense. You cannot support the position that the Maquis have any moral right to do what the fuck they're doing.
If you had a full picture of the story you wanted to end up telling with Deep Space Nine, and you knew exactly what the Dominion needed to look like, and you said a handful of shapeshifters came in late in the conflict and infiltrated the leadership of these outer colonies and built this needless resistance to the idea of relocating, specifically to antagonize things between the Federation and the Cardassians and just cause problems and distract the Federation from Dominion threat that is to come. Like, that's another great one. Or fucking Tal Shiar or whatever else. Like, the other people that hate the Federation gave him a big fucking black eye and a very deeply seated problem and moral stumbling point.
I feel like the way this could have all been saved, we're going to wrap this up. And this was the reason why we couldn't talk about the Chichi stuff. Like, we knew we had 20 minutes of talking just about the Maquis as a concept before we even talk about the episode. Is if Cal Hudson would have like turned to Sisko and be like, I'm here because the Phoenix was right and they're running guns and we need to have a hand in here. And so we made one. And no one knows. Like, this is off the books. And it's the way you introduce Section 31. Of like, this is what the fucking Federation CIA is up to, right? Is they're ginning these people up to do this and giving them a cause to fight for. They know they don't have to fucking be here. But Federation does actually play fucking dirty when it has to, because that's how the game's played. That's how politics is played. That's how great powers interact with each other when they don't want to fight wars.
You saw there were guns on transports. Picard saw there were guns on medical transports.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Sisko saw there were guns on transports, and he blew them up. And when you're wearing a uniform and blowing up civilian smugglers, now there's war concerns about when civilians blowing up civilian smugglers.
Right. We can't have Captain Maxwell blowing these things up because that makes a war. But if Johnny Come Dickwad goes and does it in a
Farmer Brown over here does
with a giant photon torpedo on it, then suddenly it's not an international incident.
They're like, where do these transports get photon torpedoes? In my mind, they've got like a bunch of old fucking 30-year-old ghetto sleds with runabout photon backpacks duct taped onto them, and that's where they're getting these photon torpedoes from. So this episode opens up with Cardassians loading shit up and getting ready to mosey on their way, which in and of itself is a big deal. And I thought that was kind of a miss that as they're giving this Cardassian vessel clearance to leave Deep Space Nine, Kieran Reese isn't like, good, get the fuck out of here. Good riddance. Like, any other time there's been Cardassians anywhere near the station, it is the focus of the entire episode. These guys are just here doing whatever, and it's another day at work.
Right.
Minus there's a guy at work who, he's cosplaying as a Starfleet officer. He's not a real Starfleet officer. And he's got ill intents, which we instantly know because human white guys missing hair that are not Patrick Stewart
Never good guys, that's for sure.
No. Good Starfleet officers always have incredible hair.
That's actually quite true.
It's, it's
with
the
one single,
foundation of
well,
Voyager.
two exceptions, because Sisko doesn't have great hair either. He's eventually is also bald, so
His hair looks perfectly fine for where it's at now. It goes to amazing once he shaves, but
exactly. So he is bald is okay, but bad hairline is not acceptable.
You know what? I take that back. Human Starfleet officers, photonic beings,
yes.
EMH being
EMH got hit by the Norwood Reaper, yet is still 100% amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we have the disposable extra of ill intent, and we cut to ops where Dax is talking about going on a date with a guy by the name of Captain Baudet, who we find out is a Galamite, a species with transparent skulls, so you can see their brains. Peter, Captain Baudet and the fact that Dax is interested in banging him is literally a running gag on this show until the 7th season.
Baudet specifically?
Baudet specifically, a character you never see.
Oh, he's right up there with Potty Mouth Morn.
Well, you see Morn, but you never hear him talk.
Sure.
You hear about Baudet and the fact that everyone's always amazed, like, you can see his brain. Why would you be interested in that? Like, over and over and over again until the end of the fucking show. It's amazing. And this is where it starts, with Kira being like, no, I would not bang a dude whose brain I could see. I have to be picky. You weirdo who's lived 7 lifetimes and therefore are freaky as fuck. I guess like you need him ribbed for your pleasure. You're just not interested.
Their girl talk moments are deeply appreciated. And
they break it up and it's actually funny.
They're not passing any Bechdel tests, but I think they're fun slice of life moments. It's great to see a carefree and unburdened version of Kira Nerys, which you don't get when there's guys around.
New.
And it's doing the most favors for Jadzia, who is an entire season behind in having a personality.
A sped runner, though.
She got power some level 60s.
She got power level 3 times this season.
Yeah, they brought in some level 60s to run her through a couple raid dungeons and get her specced out here.
I also, it reminds me of the episode very early in the season during the, I think it was the second part of the Bajoran coup, when she got pushed out as the liaison officer for Lee Nallis. And there's that whole moment in Kira's quarters where they do the comedy bit where everyone comes in. Brilliant, right? And like Dax comes in to give a gift back and she just keeps telling her to keep it. And it's like the most real ass, like
humanizing
human chicks talking to each other shit you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they always manage to kind of capture that vibe with each other. And they make regular appearances in this fashion.
Gosh, is there any other friendship that feels that genuine?
On-screen friendship between two characters that feels this genuine? Eventually, Miles and Julian are the male version of it, actually.
Certainly Tom and Harry never got there.
Tom and Harry never got there. Worf
Data
and Geordi was handicapped. Worf and Riker was handicapped. And even like...
And the fucking water polo, there's nothing in Enterprise that would have come close to that.
No. Archer and Trip.
No.
But they're not even as... Yeah. Archer and Trip might be the third best. I'm sorry to say, like, those two were actually tight and kind of hung out a little. Like,
I think you have to go back to original series to get genuine good on-screen chemistry. Like, they're able to portray that.
Kirk and McCoy, like, they obviously are just like bros. They just vibe.
They are, but this feels much more genuine in terms of like we're working 8 hours a day together, and we're not working all of the time. And there's a lot of...
Yeah, this is like genuine coworker shit, right? Like, this is what The Office was famous for because it captured it in a very endearing way. But like, when you go into the office with people, you get to know them and their lives. And you kind of talk about each other's lives because you're there all the time with them. And this is exactly the kind of conversation that would happen. And these two get it. it's the most normal shit. It's like when actors can do the normal thing on Star Trek, they tend to shine, right? Like, because they're used to doing that.
It's because it's what they want to do, and most people aren't coming to Star Trek as their first choice of what they want to be remembered for.
Correct.
Minus Jolene Blaylock, who was a
Sought
real
it
one.
out.
Yep.
She wanted it. She knew what she was getting herself into. You know,
Respect.
Famously, one of the main. This is the only show where I think one of the main actors actually leaves the show entirely late. Right? Like you had TNG where you had some ins and outs where Gates McFadden was there and then wasn't there and then came back, and obviously like Denise Crosby, bounced immediately. But this is the only one where you had somebody who was there from the beginning and then was like, boop, howdy.
So it's not a normal day at work. Evil Howdy Doody has attached something to the outside of this freighter, and as the freighter is pulling away and they're doing like flight controller shit up at ops, this thing's up by like the pylons and it blows up. And all I could think is, boy, these Maquis are kind of dicks. Because if you're gonna blow a freighter up, like doing it right on top of the Federation outpost, like chunks of the hull should have been ripping their way through ops.
That should have been collateral damage. Sounds like it was a busy day. Like you could hit like some bus full of children or something out there, man. Like blowing that shit up. There was some collateral damage.
And really, it should have fucked Deep Space Nine up. And it should have given Sisko additional motivation off the jump to say that these Maquis are a threat to not only the Cardassians and the treaty, but they're a threat to the Federation itself. They're reckless. They don't care who's getting hurt. They're not trained correctly. And their christening event, their coming out event, proves right off the jump they don't know what they're doing. And this is bad for everyone. And this is bad for my station.
And to Sisko's credit, he does feel that way. He gets more and more pissed as the events go on, to the point where at the end of this episode, he's fucking railing Kira out pretty firmly, despite Kira being on like full aggro, I am a terrorist and I believe in the people's rights to blow the fuck up out of Cardassians at any time mode. And he just opens the door. He doesn't even tell the bitch to leave, right? Like, just interpret what I have just done and get out before I get real fucking mad at you. Like, because he's pissed about exactly what you're talking about, which you've got these fucking loose cannon, wannabe terrorists out there killing, scores of Cardassians because they think they got the right of it as it relates to gun running in their little strip mall of planets. And he absolutely should be pissed about it, and he is pissed. He stays pissed about it. Like these guys are his antagonists for years.
Well, I still think shrapnel ripping through the hull and fucking the station up would have been a nice touch here. But they got a lot of story to cover, and I understand why they didn't dip into damages on Deep Space Nine. Oh shit. That's a new one for the books. Normally we have to wait for things to come out of the wormhole and attack us before things are blowing up.
Space butthole isn't a problem today, boys. We got a like homegrown issue.
Thankfully, Space Butthole is very considerate of problems on the station, almost as if it's a sentient thing watching for them to be bored and have some free time.
The prophets are up like, not today.
The prophets,
keep it away today.
The prophets are like, thank God. Hey, tell the dilemma pile over there they get to take a week off of work.
The emissaries had enough. I see that. Like, Death Row Sisko will come for us if we push him too far. We need to back off. So O'Brien's out there with Kira in a runabout, scanning the debris. Eventually, they hit on a little bit of something that's wrong, and eventually a lot of something that's wrong, in that there is a potential that some kind of not Cardassian technology may have been used in a fashion that could have created this, because of the presence of something they call mercassium, which is a component of Federation's shield technology, which is very clearly stated in dialogue as something they don't share. So they are protective of that for, I would presume, defense reasons.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That is great. That's our shielding technology. We don't share it with it. These are F-35 parts.
Yeah, we don't want the Chinamen around those F-35s.
No,
Like,
nobody gets
absolutely
any of
not.
this stuff. You can have such a banger detail in there, but you can't give me a feasible reason why these indignant fucking colonists refuse to move.
Yes. So, uh, Dax comes to the conclusion that this was basically an implosion device using proto matter to create the appearance of a normal male function rather than an actual terrorist act. And Sisko's pissed because all of his bosses are calling him, right? Like admirals are calling this commander. Like, hey man, what's going on? Why did this thing blow up? And he's like, I don't like having this much tension, boys. Can we find an answer to this? They're like, sorry, Ben, it probably is some bullshit. Like, fuck. All right. Time to do the investigate bullshit thing. And then that's when the worst character of the episode shows up.
Who would that be, Joe?
Commander Calvin Hudson. This let me clarify. The character of Calvin Hudson is a good idea. They want to introduce a peer of Sisko in both age, lived experience, and sort of fringe assignment. Personal awareness, knows the people he knows are old friends. I love that. That's great. This actor they picked out for this apparently didn't really give a fuck about Star Trek and didn't ever like the show. And it shows because he's terrible in this. It's just he's not the right actor for the role. He's not reading into how he's supposed to be acting. He seems just sloppy, casual, not militaristic, not sharp, not actually caring about the stakes of what's going on like it's real, and it shows throughout the entire performance.
I can't say he really stuck out as the sore thumb to the degree that you're seeing, and I assume that is because you have this guy's entire breadth of work and probably some grown animosity from later. He certainly didn't knock my socks off. I thought him reconnecting with Sisko as an old acquaintance and that there's some shared trauma, like some shared trauma they have. I don't know if this guy was a part of Wolf 359 or if he was just sympathetic to Sisko losing his wife in Wolf 359 and he lost his wife in something else recently. But their little catch up and reminisce segment felt good. But immediately, the way this guy starts talking, just red flags all over the place that this guy's been co-opted and that he's gone native and does not have the Federation or Starfleet's best interests in mind anymore. Like, at no point does the show fade out for a commercial break while playing sinister music and zooming in on his eyes, but they don't really need to. You know this guy is not on the up and up.
By the way, this actor, Bernie Casey, was better known for being a football player, but it looks like he mostly was in blaxploitation movies like Cleopatra Jones, Cornbread Earl and Me, and Brothers. This dude does not exactly have a career that shouts accomplished professional actor. And he just comes off as the wrong man for the job here, and it holds back every scene. And I keep bringing it up because he's pivotal to the plot, right? He is supposed to be the guy who takes Sisko on the journey of the sympathetic version of the Maquis to counterbalance his open hatred of him and making him his close personal friend that knew his wife and he knew his wife and they hung out together in New Berlin, eating schnitzel, wearing lederhosen. That I get exactly the fuck you're going for there because it helps you temper your main character's anger and make them reflective of what's going on to try and both sides of the plot a little. But it doesn't fucking work when the actor you pick out for it isn't hitting the notes as to what it is you're getting yourself into. This guy never acts like he's involved in terroristic acts that are murdering dozens of people. In a major conflict in space between two great powers that is being kind of like interspersed into this territorial dispute.
No, but the dude is giant. And
That's
I see
true.
his football background because Ben Sisko has never struck me as a small man. And when this guy's standing next to him, I feel like the adult has come into the room and Sisko is actually a child. And I'm assuming, gosh, I don't even know if like the fact that this guy needed to be like physically more imposing than Sisko was a part of it. I think very clearly they wanted another strong black male presence to stand opposite Avery Brooks.
And it makes sense. Absolutely. Specifically in this role to do that.
It does, because what you're going to do, what I assume they're going to do is say, these are the same person, separated by proximity to the situation. And either one of these people who have a very similar background should have come to the same realization, which is that the Federation abandoned these people and that forming the Maquis was a reasonable, necessary thing. Right?
And on the flip side, like contrast why Sisko makes a different choice, which is, like that he sees and respects the danger this is going to put everyone in, and he is unwilling to do that. And it could be because, as he notes, he is a father. He has Jake. He has to be more reflective and considerate of the consequences of his actions, even long after he's gone. Whereas Hudson, who has lost everything, has no such, reservations.
So the problem then becomes, you've gotten a guy who is a black dude to stand across from your black dude, but he is not on Sisko's, he's not on Avery Brooks's performance level. And that's such a bad look when your foil turns out to suck.
Right.
And it's a squandered potential moment.
Could you imagine if they like successfully got like Denzel Washington to do this for 2 episodes or something? Man. You could you just change it up to be him in 1993. He would have fucking ruled. You would have done anything you can to have see more Maquis shit. That's what the difference can be.
We need to make a new award for Deep Space Nine, I think. And maybe we should start with it this season, because Avery Brooks can bring such an intensity into a scene that dwarfs anything we got out of anybody from Voyager and anybody from Enterprise. And I think the new award we need to assign is like, who got the closest to really standing their ground or meeting the energy to establish themselves as credible opposite Avery Brooks. And we're going to have to exclude Dukat, because that was the true gem of this episode for me, was that surprise. This is actually a Gul Dukat buddy cop episode.
So we'll fast forward a few things, because we're already like 40 minutes into this shit, right?
Yeah.
Calvin Hudson shows up, makes a comment about how Dax is a woman. Hey, Ben, you banging that? No. Oh, yeah, I guess that'd be weird. Anyway, moving on. They catch up. Quark is in the middle of trying to get laid again. That skit we did was present with a very attractive Vulcan lady.
Vulcan super hottie.
Vulcan super hottie who
with the best Vulcan hottie costume I've ever seen. I mean, we've seen a lot of Vulcan hottie costumes courtesy of T'Pol.
Yes.
But like the floral print and like that, and the fact she's dirty buying guns, like, okay, new fetish unlocked.
You like your Vulcan's dirty gun runners? Yeah, okay.
Yes. With 100%. Yes. Excuse me, I need to rule 34 Lieutenant Sakona real fast.
Now suddenly you want to read some Star Trek fan fiction, huh?
You know what? I wasn't willing to go there for 7 and 9, but this one, yeah, man.
So Quark has a fun subplot where he's trying to get laid and also possibly run guns for a hot Vulcan. It's funny, but otherwise not worth talking about. So we got too much else to get into. That shit happens.
I love that when she just starts laying out like, cool, it is time for business now. I want photon torpedoes and phaser handhelds and phaser banks and like
nukes. I need some nukes.
The spit take he does where he's like, which I think his first reaction should have been, holy shit, are you a cop? Am I about to get arrested? Because
Right, like,
Vulcan... I'm sorry. What honeypot have I stumbled into here?
I'm sorry, you want to do all the most illegal things? That's what you want to do? I'm sorry, what?
He should have like slapped her or done something to try to like disrupt Odo. Because he should have, like, this is just fucking Odo.
You're not going to get me that easy.
We didn't talk about it, but the episode with his Cardassian girlfriend, when he starts like intimating that I've got a cloak to get you out of here, he's like starts banging the table and flicking glasses, and he's like, shapeshifter, like the paranoia that comes out in him, so well placed, so good. He should have like a tuning fork he bangs things with, and he should have hit her right in her head.
What if after like she makes the offer, and instead of like cutting to the next, it cuts to Quark walking into Odo's office and being like, she's running guns. What, no, like, I'm here to report a crime. That hot Vulcan that showed up, you noticed her, right? Well, yes, I know. Yeah, okay. She came in, she asked, she wanted fucking photon torpedoes, she wanted phaser bags, she wanted every illegal thing. All of it from me. After I laid out like a 5-star dinner, she started wanting to doing business deals with lots of cash in exchange for guns. Why are you telling me? It's a trap, Odo! No, like, I've been a criminal my whole life!
He should have been like computer end program. Like one of these Riker moments where he's been sucked into like a Romulan fucking holodeck dungeon of tricks. Like there's too many extreme good things. She is hot as balls and she is dirty as fuck. This whatever the Klingon battle of Clack to Clock or whatever. Like that's their greatest moment. This is the Ferengis' greatest moment, is the hot Vulcan
wants to make you rich running guns.
Over dinner, yeah. So, yeah. And it accepts all of your stupid dinner shenanigans.
All right, enough about that. After that all happens, Sisko's just like whistling as he like walks into his quarters, like, hey, what's up, Jake? And then Dukat is sitting on his couch and is like, your son's not here. And he like turns around like, yo, this is not okay. I am in my house and Cardassian Hitler is literally here right now. Like, this job sucks. This doesn't happen to whoever's based at Starbase 1. They don't have to deal with this shit. Get me the fuck away from this place. Like, what the fuck?
Has Dukat been involved in a bad scene yet?
No. Not a one.
Everything in this episode with him is excellent. Him circumventing the station's security perfectly because he knows his place inside and out is excellent. I love the fact he's not just like, no, I don't know where your son is. Like, he lets the doubt linger just to be a needless dick and flex, basically. And says, nobody knows I'm here. I'm doing you a favor. I'm here outside, or at least I'm telling you I'm outside of Central Command's knowledge. There's fucked up shit going on, and I need you to see it with your own eyes. So we need to take your runabout, and we need to go on a field trip, which is basically the Deep Space Nine plot that has replaced jailbreaks.
Is pseudo kidnapping or gray ops into no zones using a Winnebago.
Just we need a runabout for a field trip.
Runabout for something that I don't want to explain.
I need you to get you off the station, and I promise it's not so I can stab you where people can't hear you scream.
I would say that this does trump Kira approaching Sisko before he's had his coffee to ask for a runabout to go commit a crime. Like, this might be a deeper, more layered approach than even that.
Is this a new award also we need to form here?
Yes. Actually, we think we should, yes.
The best blind sighting of Ben Sisko for a runabout sign out?
I think that should be a subsidiary of an actual new award, which is Best Black Op run by the Deep Space Nine crew. That is going to be a seasonal activity several times a year.
Best misappropriation of a runabout.
Misappropriation. We'll find it.
When these excursions, so they'll be called fuckabouts.
So it's like you said, it's the secret Dukat Sisko fuckabout. buddy cop episode, and they depart to go to a system in the DMZ where Dukat suggests they're going to find a number of illegal actions taking place, as after he dramatically reveals to Sisko that the people responsible for this act are in fact Federation citizens in the most dickish and dramatic way he possibly can.
Do you remember how I said that there should have been an explosion that damages Deep Space Nine to, really establish the Maquis as a danger to the Federation, and they didn't have time for that? It's because they wanted to give this bromance scene between Dukat and Sisko, where Dukat is needlessly antagonizing him for making him sit in front of a deactivated console.
You know what? They were right to do it, because I'd rather watch these two be pissed off at each other.
Only to reveal that it's like, no, I already know what all the buttons do. I've memorized the world building that Cardassian children are put through rigorous eidetic memory training, and just unscrupulous shit. And this banger line there where he's like, education is power, and joy is vulnerability. Like, dude, could you be any more fucking blatantly evil?
That's like some 1984 shit right there. That's like love is death, or fucking nonsense.
I'd like to sit and discuss all this more, but we're running. God, we're at 51 minutes.
Yeah.
All that stuff's great, and I look forward to discussing it in later episodes where there's a lull in things. As they're flying out there, they watch a intense Starf battle commence between icons on a screen.
Classic TNG cheat, right? Like, we don't have the effects budget to actually animate this, so here they're on the screen, little buttons on. Oh no, the Federation one blew up the two Cardassian ones.
This mail truck with a photon torpedo launcher on it just showed up.
Right. And it's some interesting interplay there, in which I think Dukat is convincingly portrayed as somebody who does not have control of the situation, could not call off the Cardassian attackers initially, and then they got usurped by a Federation attacker, and he is in a position where he knows some of the things that are going on, but he is distressed at the others because there's some people doing some shit they shouldn't be doing.
I loved him trying to call the Cardassian attackers off. Like, him first confused what's happening, then trying to intervene, and then like this combination of like, this is bad and I need to stop it, and also like the wounded ego and personal pride of him being like, how dare these motherfuckers ignore me because I'm commander of the Second Order. And now this isn't just about like, hey, you guys are causing an incident. You're being insubordinate. And this is more important than anything else. And I'm not even going to find you. I'm personally going to push the fucking button to kill you motherfuckers. Cue up the torpedoes, Ben. Okay, it's that button there. I know what button it is.
Did you see the look Sisko gave him when he said that too? Like, really? Like, you're just gonna say you're gonna blow them up with my? I mean, I'm gonna let you, but you could have asked.
No,
this is mine. This is Federation property, bro. Like, I gotta say it's okay.
Sisko's like, I'm down to let you kill your people.
Like, am I gonna let you? Yes, but
Sisko's sitting
please
there
be
with
polite in the future and ask.
Sisko's sitting there with a notepad. It's like, kill your own people. That I like the sound of that. I'm gonna write that down for later. I didn't know I could do that. Thanks, Dukat.
So they get to this planet where, again, we are visited with a recurring character across 3 Star Trek properties, Gul Evek.
I thought he sounded familiar, too.
The other asshole Cardassian Gul that isn't played by Mark Almo. And he shows up in TNG episodes Journey's End and Preemptive Strike. And he shows up in Playing God, where he briefly showed up to talk to O'Brien when he was trying to kill the space rats. Maquis part 1. Yeah, and then he shows up again in another episode, Tribunal, and of course he's in Caretaker as the Cardassian attempting to get Chakotay at the beginning of that. So he sounds familiar because he is. You've seen him before, and he's a good smarmy asshole Cardassian. He's exactly what you require in these circumstances. And I like he's the same fucking character every time. They're like, go get that guy. It's the same guy. He's the Cardassian dick showing up today.
Which is important to be able to contrast Dukat with someone else. Mm-hmm. Especially as you're weaving this picture of Dukat of Is he a bad guy? Can he be a good guy? What's going on here? They show up on the planet right in the middle of a heated discussion between the local government, the Cardassian representatives. You've got Calvin Hudson there. And there's arguments over the fresh space battle they just got front row seats to. But the real point of this is supposed to be the Cardassians saying, we know that you colonists were responsible for this explosion over Deep Space Nine because we captured the guy who did it and we beat a confession out of his ass. And here's a clone sample with the video recording of this guy very clearly under arrest admitting these things.
But the thing is, he actually did do it. It is the guy we saw do it at the beginning. Like it is actually a great move on their part that the guilty party is the person they caught, and they're still like, you could have tortured him. You were the Cardassians. And like, dang it. Yeah, I guess you're right.
I love that the Cardassians use third parties to do it. And I like the amount of work that the Cardassians have offloaded up to this point, which gets called out big time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the first Bajorn Circle insurrection episodes are called, what the hell were they? The Uridians that they were using as third-party weapons brokers to fund the Circle. The fact that they could have been doing the same thing with this transport, offloading the weapons to someone else. Whoever these goofy Q-tip head aliens were that like run the honeypot where the lady drops her purse and like nicey nice McUnabomber is like, oh, I'll help you with that. And then they hypospray his ass.
Right. And that's how they got him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's some real Black Ops stuff. And the Cardassians are clearly playing the game, and the Federation just doesn't appear to be, which is what's so weird, right? They're played like, no, we're noble fighters who would never stooped to skullduggery at all, which the show ultimately discards as a concept quite wisely. But we see this all play out. Gulivek, ever the dick, brings in the literal body of the guy after he says he committed suicide, thus ensuring that there would be a flying clothesline attack and therefore a fight.
This entire thing's ridiculous. The Cardassians have shown up to this human colony. There are guests there.
Yes.
And somehow they have brought a dude on a stretcher with a blanket over him, and they've snuck him onto the premise, and they're just waiting in the hallway for Vec to snap his fingers to walk in. Like, nobody noticed this and was like, hey, boss, I think they got Farmer Joe dead in the bed over there. So they bring this guy in. Let's assume they just transported in from orbit or whatever. The leader guy from the colonists, like, basically jumps off a table and dive tackles, I think, a Vec.
Yes.
Some real WWF shit goes down.
Indeed.
They separate them. Kelvin Hudson is back on the colonist side looking guilty as fuck.
Fucking Dukat like just hauls all of the Cardassians out of there and be like, I don't understand why you're all this fucking dumb. I can't believe that I just watched all this happen. Like, what are you doing? You purposely trying to just make them kill you? Like, you brought his body, you motherfucker. What is wrong with you?
I love in the ride back that like Vec's biggest moral complaint here is like, these amateurs, the first rule of interrogations, you don't let your subject die. And Sisko's like, the fuck are all the problems going on right now? And this is like what you're putting your foot down about is that. And that turns into another, world buildy like difference moment. And Dukat's like, don't give me your Federation moral high ground bullshit. That you're too good for torture, especially in light of the fact that these guys just killed 70-some innocent people.
That was Dukat to Sisko.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. Dukat, not a Vec.
Yeah, so that is actually probably the best scene in the episode, in my opinion, which is them flying back and Dukat actually saying, I swear on my children, I don't
all
think
seven of them.
All seven of them. He just revealed he has 7 kids.
These Cardassians, they're Catholics. They get busy.
I would know if it was running guns, and it wasn't. Right? Like, your whole concept here, not true. And I'm telling you, I would know if it was. And he seems to really fucking believe it. And given how back-footed he was about everything that's going on, it's like you want to believe that he thinks that's true, and that if they are running guns, it's happening because he doesn't know.
Which is a great thought there.
Yeah.
But I do like, he's like, I would know if they were running guns. Like, he doesn't have the cover thing in there. And by the way, we would never run guns. Like, there's a lot of off-the-record real talk that Dukat's giving us here. And,
Yeah.
Sisko's even like, I know you guys are running guns on stuff or have the capacity to run guns because of the Circle episode. That whole fucking insurrection.
The Circle episode, the Phoenix episode, the episode from DNG, like, you guys do this shit. And so he doesn't deny it. He's like, yeah, I know, but it wasn't, this time it wasn't happening.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Like, that would have been cool for Dukat or for Sisko to bring, but it's like, your own dudes ignored you when you put your command. Like, I love that too. It's like, oh, strange voice out in the night coming off a Federation ship. How do we? It's like, I use my fucking command codes, Avec. Like, fuck you, buddy. And that would have been cool for Sisko to be like, clearly you're not in control here. Clearly you are. I
think the audience is supposed to know that, to say like,
I didn't strike me in the moment there. So you're right, and maybe I should have had that thought, but like, it would have been cool because a lot of this is Dukat needling Sisko, and I would have liked to see Sisko needle him right back and be like, you're not in control, motherfucker. Like, as bad as this is for me, like, you need to admit to you and Central Command, like, this is escalating quickly on both sides, and it's not just my people looking bad here. At some point, Sisko gets back in with Calvin Hudson, where there's a concentrated effort on Hudson's behalf to be like, by the way, I'm dirty. Watch me really be sympathetic to what's going on here. And taking everything Hudson says at face value, like, it is a bad situation. We know from our own observations that the Cardassians are dirty, that they make attacks on the human civilian populations. Everything that Kira Nerys says reiterates it. We see it in Next Generation and later episodes where they send uniformed Cardassian thugs to shoot up town squares and stuff. That these boogeymen tactics are probably real, that this is a living in fear situation, and it's bad for these colonists, which drives home all that stuff from earlier. If it's bad enough to go do terrorism, it's bad enough to get on a transport and move somewhere else with all of your things dematerialized in the replicator, where you are moving and literally the only thing you're bringing is that like cylinder duffel bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you've packed all of your possessions on an isolinear chip and you're leaving now. And that, again, the fatal flaw there, that you can't sympathize with these guys. It's fucking ridiculous to hang out there. But in my opinion, the Federation has betrayed these people. They are in the right for protecting themselves. And who are you to judge? Actually,
they're not hiding what they're going to do here, right? Like, they're painting a position where Federation people are doing this. So this character you've never seen before, that's a close personal friend of Ben Sisko, and suddenly he's going to wind up the antagonist at the end. Like, okay, sure, got it, understood.
When does Kira come in? Before or after he gets kidnapped?
Before Dukat gets kidnapped.
Powerful scene.
Fantastic.
The award of who gives Ben Sisko a run for his money the best. It's not going to only have to ignore Gul Dukat. We also have to make Kira Nerys exempt from this, because Nana Vister gives it.
She does.
Like a fucking champ. I mean, the performance she puts on here going toe-to-totem, you would have never thought that a space hooker could beat her in a fist fight.
Well, again, we found out it was Spice Williams, so it was like a space hooker with like
I've decided
performance enhancing stunt doubles.
I'm not letting her off the hook. It's still space. Even Spice Williams or not, it's still a space hooker. This might be my favorite episode or scene out of this episode, because this directly taps into her season 1 story, which is, I was victimized by the Cardassians. I know these guys are bad. I've been traumatized. These experiences shape who I am as a person today, and I constantly have to struggle with those decisions that I made in my youth. And that's exactly what crops up here is Ben Sisko begins dipping his toe into the world of Cardassian oppression and Cardassian meanness wilting the world around him. And these colonists are living that life already, and they have already radicalized and are ready for dirty terrorism.
Again, as we, I guess like you're right, we're going to have to give this up because it's going to dominate every conversation we have about the Maquis from this point forward. So call this the last time we'll bring it up. A compelling thought, a compelling argument. If your underlying logic allowed for the idea that Federation citizens would be stranded there and would not have some kind of redress to fucking leave.
Great point too, because the way he could have shut her ass up on the spot when she's like, I didn't have a choice and I had to live this life. And he could have been like, they could fucking leave, Kira. You had a gun to your head and you had your family getting raped around you because they were an occupying force. These people are staying in the Hurt Locker. They have no excuse to do what they're doing.
None of them are from there. They chose to go there. They had the option to go someplace else. They chose to be there. You didn't choose your life, Kira. You were oppressed from the moment you were born. There was no place for you to go except the mines until you died. I understand why you are the way you are and why you did what you did. I would have done the same thing. These people don't have that excuse. They don't have that righteousness. They don't deserve to go around killing people.
Let alone jumping off of a table and tackling a military officer.
Although it was cool, Golovec sucks.
This is just outer ring backyard wrestlers gone rogue as far as I'm concerned.
So there is
he opens a door. He doesn't even say get out of here. He just opens the door. It's like the vacuum of space sucking her back into ops.
Get out, Kira. We're done with this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Leave before you get a taste of ops of rage.
That's when you're going to lose, ma'am. The only thing that's really missing out of good arguments in this episode is Sisko and O'Brien. And I have to think at some point O'Brien's colorful history is going to intersect with Sisko's ideals on how to move forward on this. But I can forgive it because there's so much other good stuff. I did not see the Gold Dukat kidnapping sneaking its way into the last 5 minutes of this episode.
I like that they like casually get out of the runabout and like Dukat's just kind of walking around now. Like, I guess I don't have to be sneaky. Everyone gets to know I'm here. And Sisko's like casually like, all right, well, I'll give you some quarters and I'll put a guy outside your door. I'll get you on the next ship home, I suppose.
Federation officer, the Bajorans might remember me.
And he's like, yeah, of course, duh, bye. Just like leaves him hanging. Like Dukat's a little like pissed off. Like, all right, I guess. Goes,
by the way, I would be careful if I were you around here because the laser fences aren't up and people have been real testy. There's been a couple bombings and assassination attempts and rampaging goo monsters. So
I'm pretty sure you murdered half the family members of most of the people who can see you right now. So you best be getting out of here.
Those are just the people that want to kill you. I'm just talking about other Doom level things that happen here from time to time, completely unrelated. By the way, where did you get those laser fences? I might like to buy some of those.
Yeah. Did you realize that Odo could turn into a rock monster? Did you know that? Did he rock monster you? Like, we didn't see this conversation. We needed to see that one. What did you leave me with, you motherfucker? Like,
I needed Gold Dukat to be like, cool. Well, before I go to my quarters, I need to swing by Cargo Bay 6 and see what happened to Gold Disposable because we haven't gotten a report from him in a while, and we're kind of wondering if he's still here hiding behind some containers, maybe.
Hey, listen, can I go to Cargo Bay 12? We don't use Cargo Bay 12. I know I have several illegal weapons stored there.
Yeah.
Like,
where I keep
not dangerous ones, fun ones.
It's where I keep my drug stash. That's my Joe Carey.
Pot stash is Cargo Bay 12.
Yeah. So they got a guy outside his door, and then another guy comes in to relieve the current dude on shift, and he's like, well, this seems weird. And then a beautiful hand in a wonderful Vulcan tunic, reaches in from out of scene and pops his ass on the neck. And you're like, oh, super Vulcan hottie. What nonsense are you guys up to? And they're like, kidnapping. And they drum his ass off to go meet, at the airlock to go space him or whatever. And Gul Dukat's like, well, this looks like bullshit, and I'm not going to participate in it, so I'm going to backhand you. And he doesn't run. He just Riker energy goes to walk shoulder first out of the situation.
I'm leaving with dignity. Oh, I got shot in the back.
That's exactly like, I know I can't get away. I can't run like a bitch. I can't stand here and meet death stupidly. So I'm just going to walk away with dignity and let you shoot me in the back. So they shoot him in the back.
Very relatably, when they get back from the commercial break, Sisko, who's in the middle of getting yelled at all of his bosses.
I love that. And they're watching through the mirror.
They're watching through the door. And a Paris bombing. Yeah, I bet his life sucks right now. Fucking Kira, calling it out.
I want to have that scene open in his office of him yelling and saying, I was sent here to manage a gas station.
Now I'm the prophet of the religion. There's a gateway to the ass end of the galaxy. I'm in the middle of a Cold War.
I'm
you
fighting
assholes.
I'm playing through Doom levels every paycheck. The space butthole is shitting nightmares out. I had to fight Rumpelstiltskin.
Did you know how many fucking quests I've had to do at Azeroth alone?
I didn't sign up for any of this, and now you're blaming me for the bad guy being kidnapped. I'm pretty sure Dukat. I don't know. I think Dukat is probably the bad guy. He's been kidnapped. You're yelling at me about that?
And then Odo's steaming over here, you should have let me set up my Panopticon surveillance state in here, you idiots.
I thought, man, there's so many good scenes in this episode alone, and it's a real shame that the fucking Maquis nonsense is so weak.
Yeah. Everyone is individually cool in this episode in many different ways, and it's very worth watching because of it. But
Odo, I'm ready to get real about security and getting real snippy with O'Brien. And O'Brien's never really the Federation idealist. I mean, this guy's PTSD ready for murder guy.
Yeah.
And for these two to be a conflict, what do you mean? He's unbind me. Let me be a dirty cop. Let me go dirty Harry these guys.
Let me stop and frisk.
Give me 50 more deputies. 50 more deputies. Give me an army. And for Kieran Reese to tag in on Miles O'Brien's side and be like, you're talking about making things like they were before. Going back to the what was it? Necessary Evil. Was that the name of the episode?
Correct. Necessary Evil.
That version of her, you are a tool of Dukat. You are a part of the system that is oppressing us. I am identifying you as an enemy in this moment. That's what you want to bring back. You want to bring back this police state Gestapo bullshit that I remember being an oppressive weapon. You are being wrong, Odo. And is Odo being wrong? I mean, we watch all the nonsense going on here. So just a great moment of internal fighting that I want to see more of.
There's so much more here that'll actually happen. I'm proud to say. Remember how you'd have these moments and I tell you, and this was never mentioned again, over and over and over again over most of the time we've been doing this show? Mm-hmm. Those days are over, Peter. Those days are finally behind you.
Before they can get deeper in the fight, the doors open, Sisko comes out and says, what in the fuck? What is happening?
Sit rep now, all you motherfuckers.
Let me be clear, friends. There is no space dilemma happening. There are no space hillbillies trapping us in chutes and ladder. Q is not here. Bucky Barnes or whatever his name is. There's no baseball ghosts. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me flip back here and see what the dilemma of the random was. Progress. There's no space fracking we're concerned with. Things are very normal right now in this station as far as magical dilemmas go. How do I have foreign dignitaries getting kidnapped? We had a terrorist. Why are we not in red alert right now? By the way, we just had a terrorist incident. It's 9/11 here right now. How did this guy get kidnapped?
They run through what happened. They very quickly identify that a freighter with a false identification is the getaway vehicle for whoever did this. and that it went to the place we've gonna grow to know and love and heard before because we've done Voyager, and that is the Badlands, a plasma storm-ridden part of space where no one can go except if you want to get your shit fucked up. And they do find a M-class asteroid within the Badlands that it appears that this freighter has gone to. For some reason, your rolling crew is fucking Kira, Sisko, and Bashir. I guess they thought because maybe they thought that Dukat would need medical assistance, and not O'Brien. So it doesn't make sense.
Listen, not to be a racist.
You have to have one person who doesn't hate Cardassians there, I guess.
Not to be bigoted, but if I'm bringing someone who I need to know that push comes to shove is not going to shoot, is not going to go native and join with the anti-Cardassian freedom fighters.
I can need one guy. I'm going to bring Kira or O'Brien, not both.
I want to see like O'Brien, like, I'm ready for the away team mission. Actually, Miles, it's not that I don't trust you. Let me show you. I trust you. Not that I don't trust you after watching you already like PTSD activate 4 times this season. But you know what? It is, Miles. Actually, I made your wife a promise.
I have to go at least 3 pay periods before I go to her fucking quarters and tell her you're dead.
That I would give her at least 1 week of knowing that you're still alive. So, sorry, you got to sit this one out. Maybe I would have brought Odo. I don't know.
And then, yeah, we get to the end, and it's dun-dun-dun. Oh, my God, it's Cal Hudson. He's the bad guy. He's joined the bad team.
I'll tell you what, those Starfleet Type 3 phaser rifles look whack. Those might have cut it in the 80s, but after seeing the new First Contact phaser rifles used, the dildo tips used heavily in Voyager, seeing these old TNG Season 3 phaser rifles, they look bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like the OG Dustbusters. Just a little
I love
too dated.
the OG Dustbusters. The phaser rifles just look goofy, though. And I look forward to seeing, like, all right, so the colonists are getting access to hot shit arms. Is this Hudson funneling it in? Is there a Section 31 component to funding this thing? Or is it all dirty black market deals getting them this stuff? I don't know.
Well, you will find out soon enough, because what are we watching next week?
Next week, well, if this is Maquis Part 1, I'm going to go on a limb. Oh, yep, Maquis Part 2, Season 2, you Episode 21, May 1st, 1994. Look at this picture. You got the 3 guys. You got this jabroni on the left that looks like a child, and then you've got pretty Klingon lady, and then you've got this fucking NFL linebacker that's taller than the door.
All true.
Sisko tries to rescue Gul Dukat, stop the Maquis terrorists, and prevent a new war with the Cardassians. Teleplay by Ira Stephen Bear, so good. Can't wait to see how he tries to make the Maquis ankle stick a little better in this one.
There is a tiny little thing that I would like to spoil you about for this episode. Is that okay?
Yeah.
My favorite Starfleet Admiral, I think your favorite Starfleet Admiral, makes her Deep Space Nine debut in this episode.
Nechayev.
Dirty shit's happening in the galaxy, and Elena Nechayev is going to be in on that shit. It is a tale as old as time.
She is an unscrupulous broad.
It is still, in my opinion, the greatest miss of the Picard Season 1 experience, that somehow the Admiral that denies Picard the thing that he wants to do wasn't Elena Nechayev for some reason. But, alas.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yes, thank you all. We'll see you next week.